HorrorDeconstruction.
What's up, everybody? It's the HorrorDeconstruction. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, mostly on YouTube. Give us a like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell icon with your host, Komp, and
Sweden.
as well as
Hecuba.
today's film is
THELMA, 2017.
THELMA, 2017. A film based on the historic 1965 march led by Dr. Martin Luther Jr. Oh, that's Selma, guys. Oh, boy.
Wow.
Boy, what a
joke that was. Selma, 2017.
That was funny.
Man.
A confused religious girl tries to deny her feelings for a female friend who's in love with her. This causes her suppressed, subconsciously controlled psychokinetic powers to reemerge with devastating result. Directed by Joachim Trier. Written by Eskil Vogt and Joachim Trier. Starring Ellie Harbo, Kaya Wilkins, Henrik Rafelson. So, what are we actually celebrating this month, Thea?
The pride.
Yay.
The gay pride. The LGBTQ,
Yeah.
etc. pride.
Is it LGBTQ plus or is it LGBTQ, a couple of letters and then plus? Okay. All right, so yes, obviously we're, for this month it is June. I thought we should, we missed Thea's Thea's time of the month last year, so I figured let's do some appeasing of the,
No, we didn't miss
angry
it. We
crowds,
did it. What are you
because she
talking
was so
about?
devastated by it. And I said, let's do Pride Month. And
Wait,
you
but
know,
didn't we do it? I swear we did.
No.
I thought we did it, but I guess I'm wrong.
So
No, you gave half of it to me because you pitied
Oh,
me on
yes,
my
yes,
birthday.
yes.
That was like 2 years
Because
ago.
it's also your month.
So we did Pride Month, much to the protest of Danny. So much so that he tried to, he was throwing axes at people. But anyway,
Sure.
so now we're doing LGBTQ month, and there's a plethora of, there's so many gay horror movies right there that are so easy to find for people.
Oh yeah. It's
There's-
we're
take your
just
pick.
lousy with them.
A dime a
Just
dozen.
lousy.
Lousy being the correct word. The interesting thing is, I thought of. Do you guys have any history with before we get into the film LGBTQ horror that you've horror that you've seen or remember before?
I feel like we've reviewed all the ones that I've seen, and most
I
of them
swear-
sucked.
I gotta figure we've only done 2 of them because the only one that I can
I think those are
of-
the only ones that exist. And there was that one with the bathhouse or something. Like it was like a old ancient.
Yeah, you
like,
actually.
bath.
You actually said we should watch that, but then you just you didn't review it. You just said no, don't watch that movie, and I was like, well, I wonder why. We didn't review
Oh,
it. It
okay.
was called Hot Room or something like that. That's a very that title's very misleading.
It also depends on how we're like defining it.
Right.
It wasn't
Is
good.
it movies written or directed
Correct,
by
yeah.
queer people, or is it
Well, I
starring
guess it should
or
have themes
about?
of being gay in it. I don't know.
Yeah,
'Cause
that's
Night-
kind of what I. That's kind
That
of what I
wonderful
went by. I
Megan
don't even
Fox
know.
one that Thea loves so much.
That's one of my favorite episodes because
can't.
it's just Thea so angry with Danny. Because
I feel like I need to go re-listen to
all
it because
Danny
I
is
just
saying
blocked it out.
throughout the whole episode is like, "Oh, Megan Fox is hot. Oh, she's
Oh,
hot.
she's gonna be in a new horror movie.
Look at that hot lesbian," because that's all he's saying, and Thea is just getting angry. I guess one of the greatest episodes I ever listened because it was the first time nobody's mad at me. But anyway, the 2 that I couldn't offhand remember for the films that we review is Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Apparently, nobody knew that the movie was about queer youth except for the writer of it. And they were all
Right.
shocked, and then I guess that guy made a career out of it because he wasn't really in anything else. He made a movie called Scream Queen, a documentary, or they made it about him, which is I think on Shudder.
Right.
And then
Well, the problem is he kind of didn't make a career out of it, and because he was supposed to be a big star after that and wasn't because.
because he
people were so,
stayed
like,
in
mad
he stayed
at
in the
movie.
closet for a long time. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
That's a shame.
I think so.
Well, his acting didn't help either. So we also did Der Samurai. I don't know if you remember that, Danny. It's
I don't.
a horrible movie. It was very good looking. Like it looked really good, but it was like the worst analogy of, I guess, a closeted man.
And then there's the one with the lesbian that has diabetes and is a sociopath and pushes her girlfriend off the cliff.
Oh yeah, that one too. Yeah, well, Thea's favorite movie because it's shown such a good light on female relationships.
And then also
How We
there's the one where they're on the
Survive
bus and
What
for
Keeps You
no
Alive.
reason, for no
Yes.
logical
Okay, so-
reason, she poisons her
Yes, that was what was that? The Perfection, a fantastic movie. Spoiler: where you save somebody's life from a pedophile rapist by having them cut their arm off so they don't perform anymore. Makes complete sense.
Everything in that movie was illogical and could have been avoided with a conversation.
Call the cops. Call the cops. Nah, let's have this woman. Let's drug her. Let's make her shit in the street and then cut her own arm off. That makes sense.
Let's fully traumatize an already traumatized.
So speaking of lesbian relationships, this film Thelma 2017, I remember seeing
that was a good transition.
Thea and I got a little bit synchronicity because we both, I guess, heard about this film a while back and just mutually brought it up because I had seen the trailer for it on. There's a really good Facebook page called Incredibly Strange Films where they just kind of just show people share their rare and odd films that they share. I guess on the and from there I found a lot of interesting films. And Thelma was a trailer that I saw, and I just saw it has this really beautiful look to it. Like this is far and above the classier of the films that we've seen. I'd say it doesn't come off as snobby. I don't think because there's a lot of films that come like this and then they sort of drag their heels and they're like, oh look how brilliant I am. Look at this tree.
Yeah,
you know?
Like they'll stay on an unnecessary shot for like 10 extra frames just to be like, see how pretty it is.
Right, every shot here feels purposeful and it feels like a real film. Because then you watch it, you're like, holy shit, this is like how a real movie looks. Because there's care and dedication, and it feels like the director took time with each thought in putting this film together. So Thea,
I don't think I knew the director or anybody in the movie. I felt like I knew the dad though, actually, which is weird. But
personally,
did you meet
Norwegian,
him? So we probably just don't know.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing about this is that it's directed by Joachim Trier, and I was fascinated by the film after I saw it. So I was watching interviews, and they all spoke English, and I was like, huh.
Yeah, everybody in that part of Europe speaks perfect English.
Right,
so
right,
weird.
because they care. You know what I mean? They don't want to just be ignorant people.
Single cell organisms like the rest of us.
Right. The interesting about that is what I wonder is how come a lot more films like these, that because their English is flawless. Why don't they do dual takes in English for the stupid idiots in America that don't want to read?
Because
and
they're
I understand
not catering to idiot Americans.
I know you shouldn't have to appease to people like that anyway, but just in this market, like,
but it could give it a wider
right? Because I thought like I would have watched it anyway in the original language, but I was just like, holy shit! Like this is a movie that should be seen by a lot more people. And an interesting thing to me, which I thought
what's so bad about subtitles? I don't understand why people
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying for a wide reach to make more money.
You are a bad person.
Oh, boy. Can I just say one more thing before we start this? Is that Eiley Harbo, I was looking at her, the lead who plays Thelma, was very good in this film. I was looking at her, I was like, why does she look so familiar? And I realized she looks like the young girl who plays Eleven in Stranger Things, like if she grew up.
You think
and
so?
that's what I'm like. There's something very familiar about her face. But Thea, why don't
it's like her face shape? Yeah.
Thea, why don't we get into this film Thelma 2017? So strangely directed by I can't assume his sexuality, but it is directed by a man and it is a lesbian focused. I guess I don't know if it's focused completely on lesbianism. It's just more of a character study. But Thea, why don't you take the reins on this?
We start off with a father and a young girl and walking over a frozen lake into the forest. He has a big rifle, and at some point they see a deer and he's about to shoot the deer and then turns his gun to her as if he's going to kill her. And then
for some reason it reminded me of The Thing, because I had no idea really what the movie's about, but that sort of something is up, and it's a very good indicator of the
I would love to live over there where the lake is frozen. It looks
gorgeous.
So nice.
Yeah, it looks so beautiful over there. Maybe not now recently, but maybe in a year or so, everything will probably look normal. So what comes from there, Thea?
And then we go to Thelma, who has moved out of her parents' house and is being checked up on regularly by her parents, who are very protective and consumed with her schedule and her time.
Is she about 18, 19 years old? Something like that?
I think so, yeah. She must be just going to university, so it's about around there. And she's very reserved and very sort of closed-mouthed.
Yeah, just that beautiful wide shot of all the students walking around the campus, and I was just like, okay, this is taking a little long, but then she walks into frame, and I was like, oh damn, that was a good fucking shot, and they repeat that shot.
There was a moment in that shot where I was like, are we following the right man?
Yeah, it was like you're going to see a guy with a red striped sweater. It's like Waldo walking through and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But so what? Explain who Thelma is, Thea.
Thelma is a young girl who's going away to school and has clearly been like very held close to her parents and is very overprotected
And repressed, right?
And very repressed, and like vaguely religious. Like they only touch on it sort of a few times.
Yeah. I might say something that's a little controversial, but like I don't think the dad is necessarily an evil guy. No. Because I don't think, and it's weird because I think they try to. No, I know,
so I mean, it makes sense that he would be nervous.
I think you start out feeling, because you don't have full context, that he's sort of a bad guy.
But I think that the director's trying to convince us at the end that he deserved that like horrible fate at the end, which because I think he put I assume that was his mother that he put in the hospital, or maybe his wife's mother. I wasn't sure. They didn't really say which parent that who that grandparent of her was related to. It would be the paternal and maternal, but then they give him that really horrifying death, which was fucking awesome visually. But I didn't like. I wasn't leaning towards him being a complete piece of shit, because I think that they were trying. No. But I think that's just...
They were trying to give her a life and they didn't know how.
Right, and I think they're on a surface level. I think they were just like,
I think he wasn't really a great guy, but I definitely understand why he would have done that, because she literally killed their son. So.
Yeah, because even the part when she confesses that she had a infatuation with another woman, like he didn't go what and like throw a table over her. Like he wasn't completely bad. So it's sort of, to me, I think that was sort of a little bit of a failing. Like I'm glad that they didn't make him outright evil, but he is a representation of repression in the film. Like he's clearly like the stand, him and his wife, but the wife not so much. But the difference is, like, the thing he's getting her to repress is her power and her understanding of it. Yeah, that's to her people. Right? So it's kind of like, it's almost like a metaphor for the gay part of her, but like he just thinks she can't control it, so he doesn't give her all the information, which is what makes all these bad things happen. He's obviously... And then he also tells her, and the only reason she was in love with you is... You controlled her. You willed it to be, right.
Yeah, but was that... I mean, that kind of is true at the end, but I don't think that was true in the beginning, though.
I thought that was pretty interesting and made it really nicely ambiguous. But I think he's clearly a physical embodiment of repression, and I think the director just wanted to be like, I don't know if it was some sort of weird girl power moment when she kills him. I don't know.
I don't think so. I didn't read it as that. I read it as more like she... First of all, he said something that fucking pissed her off, but also she was just going like, if you had given... It felt to me where it was like, if you had given me all the information, like I could have figured something out.
Right, and I don't mean to take away from that moment itself when she kills him. I just think that I'm going through with the director and what we're seeing physically on screen, that is obviously her killing off her repression, and he's supposed to represent that repression and all that stuff, which I think is a little bit more ambiguous into what plays out in the story. Because what is Thelma's power, actually?
Her power is... I mean, Danny, do you want
I was going to say she's basically like Carrie or something. Well, but also she can make people vanish into like voids and shit and like teleport people. Like
her desire is so strong that if she wants something badly enough, it will
She can will things into existence.
In whatever way.
So couldn't she bring the brother back to life or something? Like, I wonder why not.
I think if they're dead, they're dead. I think the only reason the girlfriend came back is because she sort of disappeared her.
Right.
She didn't kill her.
Which I thought was interesting, because I think that if I was a dad, I'd be like, holy shit, can you make $1 million just appear? And
yeah, right.
I'd be doing that. It's like, you want a girlfriend? Hell,
but it would
get
be
10
$1 million
girlfriends.
Crowns, because this is not America. They have crowns.
Yeah. So Thelma's repression plays out because she is in school, and obviously we do find out that she's a little bit more religious, and I think that they were looking towards the Lord to shepherd her into the light and not use her powers for evil, because they knew in a previous incident what happened to her, because her mother's in a wheelchair, and we're not and I kind of figured something had happened with the mother, but she's in the
But
past
you don't know what
see
or how.
in the past you see a mother walking around with a little baby, and I was like, oh, here it comes, because like the
Mm-hmm.
thing with all these supernatural pyrokinesis, kinetic, whatever these type of films
Yeah.
are, it always ends poorly. It always ends poorly, like Carrie.
Yeah. Well, because children's desires are so simple and direct that they don't think of consequences.
Right, it's all the id
Right.
and all that.
Well,
ego
did you guys
stuff
ever
like
see
that.
the remake of the Wish Kid from Twilight Zone in the Twilight Zone movie? That
Yeah,
one
yeah,
ends
yeah.
okay. He makes friends with that lady, and then
That's because
and,
everybody else
then
was
everything's
trying to,
okay.
Everybody was standing still
Oh,
because they
man.
would just shit their pants if you had a 10-year-old that could control reality like that. So, Danny, what happened to her as a child? Besides, dad pointing
She
a gun there
turned
to
her
her.
brother into a brosicle.
Yes. How do you explain that away to the cops? Like that part, I was just like, huh? Like, how do you explain? Like, I get maybe he must have broken him out of the water or something. I guess
Maybe they didn't even tell the cops, or maybe they chipped
No.
the hole and then like.
Yeah, I think that's what
Said he
probably
fell
happened.
in or
Because
something.
there's no fucking way you could like, hey, look, my son's in the water. He's under like 3 feet of ice. How'd he get there? You know what I mean? Well, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little bit weird, but I guess you can sort of explain that off in some sort of dialogue.
Yeah.
Let's introduce her crush in this film, which is Kaya Wilkins. Danny, talk about Kaya. No, maybe I should have Thea talk about.
Yeah, I was about to say something immediately.
So
Is Danny gonna be gross?
We'll
I wasn't
see.
gonna be gross. I was just gonna
In
say
this moment,
she's
hold on, in
very
this-
respectful and nice, and everything about her is good.
this is where the movie could have where the podcast could have forked off in 2 separate directions. So we'll see like a guy who's completely lost, and then a woman who's possibly maybe attracted to this character, Thea. So like
Yeah.
a classier way of saying, oh, she's hot. We'll just say, oh no, she's a respectable woman. So who's Kaya? Kaya Wilkins playing Anja. What's this character?
This character is a woman that she meets for the first time without actually speaking to her in it looks like a study hall of some kind, which is where she has her sort of first seizure while she's away.
Right.
And so she witnesses the seizure, and then later at the pool goes like, "Are you okay?" and approaches her and checks in.
So these seizures are like a physical manifestation of not being able to control her emotions, right?
Yeah.
It's like her trying to deny that she's attracted to women, I think.
Yeah. So I think Kaya Wilkins is a very interesting actor in this. She's obviously has that. Well, maybe I can't explain it correctly. What do you think is what works for Kaya Wilkins in this film, Thea?
She's very subtle. I mean, they both of the actresses kind of are, in a good way. I don't know. She's very like. She doesn't have very many lines, really.
No.
She's sort of captivating from afar.
I think she has that sort of, when you have a dark and mysterious guy in a film, when they just sort of like a
Yeah.
quiet.
If I was
She-
a all-powerful
strong
telekinetic
silent type.
lesbian, I would be attracted to her. I know that.
Like, because there's a difference between her character and, say, like Helena Bonham Carter's character in Fight Club, where they're both sort of dark and mysterious, but I don't feel any ill will from her character Anja in this,
No.
as opposed to Helena Bonham's character, who feels like jaded and sort of destroyed by the world. But also, Kaya Wilkins is a musician, and I don't know if she was in many acting roles. She's in a band she's in a musical project called OK Kaya, and good music. It's that sort of I don't know what type of genre this music is, but it's sort of like if you listen to Radiohead's
What does
OK
she
Computer
play?
and stuff like that. No, it's like that weird I can't say trip hop. It's sort of in that realm of like dream pop kind of thing, but it's
I
not
like
like
trip hop.
poppy music. It's like ambiguous notes and I'm sorry, what's that type of music where it's just like keyboards and then a girl singing over it? It's not anything like super.
That sounds like
complicated.
trip hop.
But anyway, it's really good. The only other music I can say is if you ever watched Creed, which was like the Rocky reboot with Michael B. Jordan, Tessa Thompson.
Never saw
is
it, but
in
I know the band from the 90s.
Tessa Thompson is some sort of, I guess, LGBTQ icon. I don't know whether she's bisexual or straight or what her. I think she's bisexual. The actress,
I think
right?
she's bi.
She's bisexual, but her character, she sings in that film, and it's very similar. It's really good music. Like, I thought it was like the best part of that film. And then now she goes and she, they call the guy the Taika Waititi, the director of Thor, the second one.
Yeah.
The
What about
third
him?
one. and he did a new one, and they caught him on camera with Tessa Thompson, who's in the Thor films, and his girlfriend in some sort of weird threesome, and then Marvel had to yell at him and be like, listen,
Oh, good for him.
yes, or good for the ladies, that's what I
Good
said.
for them. You know, that's
Everybody.
empowerment.
Honestly,
They've empowered
hot
themselves
couple.
upon that sexy director.
Marvel was right when they saw those photo Marvel like did like Mickey Mouse themselves like, cut that shit out.
Oh fuck, they love it.
Picture
they
his
pretend not
character
to,
from
but
that vampire
my God.
movie, like Within the Shadows or whatever, like having a threesome.
So Thea, can you explain Anja and Thelma's relationship in the film?
Yeah, so we see Thelma sort of, doing the typical thing you do when you get a crush, which is like sort of look them up on social media and look at their stuff and go.
Very good, yeah, yeah.
Because she adds her very
Very
fast.
realistic, yeah.
Yeah. And then she sort of shows up at a bar where Anya? I don't know how to say her name.
Anja, I think.
Is it Anja?
Like an ingenue.
Like an ingenue, where she is, and sort of goes like, "Oh, I'm just about to leave, but I could hang out with you," and goes away with her. And at some point, they go dancing in the night, and it you can tell there's chemistry, but then Anja disappears, and Thelma goes home, and later wants her there, and then suddenly Anja shows up as if not by her own will.
That was fucking. I love that
So
shot. It was
like,
so
but the rest of
spooky.
it was all like consensual, though, right? Like
That's the.
Well, I think it's very ambiguous.
Right.
I think you can argue that whether you think the moment it could have either happened either at the pool
right.
or later when she wanted her to notice her. She wanted her to be into her, because if she had a boyfriend that whole time, maybe she didn't initially.
Yeah, the
She was
interesting
being- she
about
was
it is that
nice.
because coming into it, I was like, is there going to be that sort of predatory lesbian, or because like I think Thea and I had discussed about horror films where there's like an evil lesbian character and she's the cause of all this
Yeah.
problem.
It
That's why,
seems
'cause
very realistic. That's how
saw-
I picture it going.
I saw a list of lesbian vampire films and I sent them to Thea. Then I was thinking, I was like, oh, these are probably like guys just filming,
Yeah,
girls
well,
making out
those
and shit.
especially those early 70s.
Yeah,
movies
for
were
sure.
By men, for men, like for let's see a bunch of titties.
That's like
two girls making
like
out.
the Hammer horror films. I'm sure. There's
Why
like a
do you
Brit-
have to disrespect titties like that, Thea?
I'm sure there was like
we
a-
appreciate
like a-
them.
There was a British guy in the theater going, "My word!" and his monocle falls off and shit. But yeah, I was kind of looking for that I wasn't looking for. I was looking forward to not seeing that in this type of film. I'm glad it.
Yeah.
But and I'm saying there isn't. But that whole line of you can make shit happen to your will. That sort of is like, is she that way? Like, it's not really like bothering me that bad. But for the fact that Anja shows up in the middle of the night, you're just like, okay, so she manipulated her into the situation,
Yeah.
whether she likes her or not. She's intrigued because she
Yeah.
did have a boyfriend at the beginning, but sexuality is fluid with some people. So I don't know. Am I saying that correct? I don't know if I'm going to get people breaking
Yeah.
down my door.
She could have been bisexual either way.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then there were no predatory males in the film, which I thought was interesting. There was no sort of
Well, that guy was a
rape.
complete douchebag.
The guy that faked her out with the drugs was kind of.
Yeah, that guy was a cunt.
But also, she definitely had a thing, so I guess she psychosomatic herself into a mushroom trip or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it was interesting
Yeah.
with that guy that he didn't like they just showed up at the party together. Because once I saw they were dating, I was like, I thought they were dating because you just assume, and just like in real life, I guess that film was supposed to put in your head that now she's with this guy to pray the gay
Make
away,
her
so to
jealous.
speak. But he was.
No, I
just
thought
one
she
of
was
those-
doing it to make the other one jealous.
Yeah, well, and also to send a signal of like, I am not to be sort of. approached.
Right, and that guy was just sort of a obnoxious dickhead about insulting her religion at the beginning of the film anyway, which is something that Danny does behind closed doors anyway. So I guess he probably thought it was a hero. But that was refreshing to not have just sort of somebody there's some sort of rape or assault, because a lot of these films have that. Not that I'm opposed to seeing that in films. I know Thea is like bothered by that shit a lot, which is understandable because it's like they're just sort of monetizing trauma for people on film and they don't know what bothers them.
I feel like if anybody tried to, she would without even realizing voodoo their dicks off or something.
Which would have been fun too, but this isn't that type of film. It seems to be a little bit more drama and character study. And also kind of jumping back to queer films, there was one film that I was thinking about a long time ago that I saw maybe the last half of it. It's called The Moth Diaries. and that's
I've heard of that.
That's not the Mothman Diaries with Richard Gere and the what is it? The
Okay, that's what
Mothman
that's
chasing
what I
him
was
with his
thinking.
gerbil up his ass. No, the Moth Diaries.
Oh,
is like
Richard Gere.
It's a school, like a school for girls, and I think that's also a lesbian vampire film, and I believe it was directed by a woman. I'm not sure, but I thought it was pretty interesting. And then also the only other queer horror film that I remember I saw a little bit of it is called Hellbent. So it's
terrible?
it's a gay no, I don't know if it was bad because I only saw parts of it. It's like a gay slasher film, and I was trying to figure out what is the difference between like a gay horror film and a straight horror film, and I think it's the representation of sexuality like explicitly, because I think that's it, because you can have queer characters that don't sort of make out with each other in the film, but it seems like they're forced to put that in. Do you know what I mean? Like
right.
It's like,
okay, yeah, but every slasher film has people making out, so I guess if
I know, right?
That's
so
it's
recently not really. The only one I can remember is fucking it comes at no, what is it? It Follows or something like that. That's like the only one that I saw that.
Yeah,
everything
we need to bring back
more
movies where there's gratuitous nudity and makeouts for no reason, and then a slasher comes in and kills people having sex.
Why, Theo? Why do you think it is? Because something that I've noticed a pattern wise is but I can't say that I've been outwardly looking for queer horror. I'm interested in seeing some, because like one of the movies that we'll cover this month, which is Kiss. I'm sorry. What is it called? Kiss and Knife, or Knife and Kiss, or something like that. Knife and Heart. Yeah, Knife.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, that's a very good slasher film, but it's like giallo, and it's actually a pretty strong lesbian well, I guess I'll hear it from Thea what she thinks about that. But it is also, it actually goes on both sides. But I noticed that a lot of these sort of paranormal films, they lend themselves a lot more towards lesbian relationships than they do with guys. Like, it seems with sort of from the queer horror films that I've seen, it's not really, they don't deal with fantasy elements like sort of the lesbian films. And what do you think that is? Do you think it's, like, I personally think it's like men's sort of perception of women being a little bit more, fantastical or whatever the fuck, that they can digest that better than seeing a guy having some sort of vampire relationship with a man.
I think our society is just still homophobic more towards gay men than gay women.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, I think
I think that's definitely part of it, because we live in a patriarchal society, and men are just more afraid of that being
kill the
patriarchy,
patriarchy,
sort of accused of that, whereas women are sort of understood to be like, or theoretically understood to be more fluid, even though that's not necessarily true.
Excuse me, guys. Hashtag not all men, huh? I'm
saying.
kidding. Yeah, but why do you think that that specific type of genre lends itself better? Well, not better, but lends itself more to women in relationships than it would to like guys. I've yet to see anything that has like guys that are witches doing this shit. It's mostly like women, and it's more of like a fantasy. Like it's almost like softcore pornography in a way.
I mean, do you want the real answer? I think it's because they know that more men are horror fans too, and so they wouldn't want to watch something that it was two men.
Okay, fair enough.
Alex,
that's what I think.
That means
Honestly,
that
it feels
it's
more
your
like a
fault.
business decision than anything.
It means that it's your fault, and I say this as an outside
I don't know
observer.
if I'm asking the question correctly. I don't think it's not that. I'm not trying to say.
Well, what do you think?
No, I'm not trying to say that it's why are we seeing more gay horror films with women. I meant why are we seeing that specific type of genre of like vampires or
like
fantastical? Yeah, like psychological. And do you think it leans towards more women because men are a little bit more, or they perceive men in film to be a little bit more about action? Like what Keeps You Alive was like the first slasher film that was like that I saw that it was like lesbian.
Was that the one with the cliff?
With the what?
The sociopath with the diabetes? Was that the one?
Yes, that one. Like that was like an actual straight up slasher, like something that you would think would be guys.
I felt like Thea really didn't like that one.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was a horrible movie.
I don't think it was that bad, and I remember when she got the revenge at the end when she like fucked with her insulin. Sorry, spoiler alerts. I mean, it's not a good movie, guys. Don't worry.
We're telling you so you don't have to see the movie. But what I'm trying to say is that I think that they perceive men's films like men's
as more like aggressive,
right? That's what I was trying to figure out with that.
Yeah.
And women are a little bit more,
Could be. Yeah, well, it's the same answer, right? It's kind of playing into traditional gender.
Yeah,
I think Alex needs to go to re-education because he's clearly clearly a homophobe.
I was trying to make myself sound smart with this whole point. It took me 10 minutes to explain one thing. So, Danny, what were your thoughts of the actors in the film? How did they portray their roles and everything like that?
I thought all of the actors did a splendid job portraying their role, and I felt the love in the relationship, although it's questionable if it was real or not. But I actually did feel the connection. It was good, and I kind of hated the dad, but also understood him at the same time because she killed the son. It makes sense. And the mom annoyed me a little bit.
Did this? Well, I actually understood her by the end of the film because of what happened to her fucking baby boy. Like, because they always treat like the first kid is like, okay, we got to do another baby boy. You're like, whoa, you know. But did this movie have the male gaze to it?
I don't know.
It didn't to me, because it felt sort of like, I don't know. I think it felt like sort of more focused on things that I would find attractive in a woman, or that I would sort of be attentive to in a woman, rather than going like, see, she's naked and she's walking through and I'm staring at her ass, like that.
It's funny
stuff.
because the only part that had nudity in it was like probably the most unsexiest part. It was just like casual nudity because she was sick in the bed. And so I thought that was
the dad washing her.
Right. Yeah. So.
But like unsexualized.
Right. That's what I'm trying
like
to say.
Very.
Because I think also I had seen a movie recently called The Smiley.
Unless you're into that.
Let's not even bring
some
it up.
People, some people are. No kink shaming.
I'm glad you brought that up, Danny. But there's a film that recently that I just saw called The Smiley Face Killers, which is a horrible movie, written by Bret Easton Ellis, who's a queer writer, but doesn't specifically write about.
That's the one who did American Psycho.
He wrote American Psycho. So this Smiley Face Killers was based on this real. I did a review for it if you want to hear the whole thing about it. But this is about a real life bunch of murders that cops have theories that it was the same killer because they keep drawing smiley faces near these dead men who wash up on shores, and a lot of them are attributed to suicides. And with that was the first film I saw. I'm sure there's others like it, but it's a male gaze film, but on men. And the characters are straight. Right. But it's like the movie leads up. The guy's like this handsome. Everybody looks like they're fucking out of a Benetton ad, and they're all like 6-pack abs. And the guy's at the end of the film. The guy, there was nothing necessary for him to be in a van at the end nude with just duct tape on his genitals, and he spends the rest of the film running around like that. And the characters played straight because he has a girlfriend and everything. There's no sort of questioning about sexuality. So, like, that's the first time I saw it. The only other time I saw it was, like, in a Tyler Perry film when I was working at a movie theater. And you know how there's always these sort of rumors about Tyler Perry? And there's this scene where a guy's playing basketball, like this really handsome African-American guy, and he's playing shirtless. And I looked at the shots of that, and I was like, this is what a straight woman would, like, fucking fall in love with. So it was interesting to see that, and not in this film, especially because it's a male director. But I don't know if that's nationality-wise. But, you know, I'm sure there's plenty of European directors that have the male gaze in their film. And seeing that in this, that it's a male director, I wonder if he was sort of like, okay, I want to make sure that I don't do this or do that. I don't know if he's got, consultation for it, but I thought the way that the whole
I wonder if the actresses are actually lesbians. I don't know.
Maybe they're that good of actors. Who knows? Who knows anything anyway? But
it was very believable. It was a very good job.
Yeah, I think it was visually structured. Like, it felt like they were, real characters. They didn't feel like. Although.
And then at the end, like, we all agree that she was completely brainwashed, right?
By.
Well, yeah. I mean, at the end, she was basically just a different. I don't know. We don't even know if she's the same
Thelma
person
or Kaya? Who are you talking about?
Well, we said she can't bring people back from the dead, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
So it has to be the same person.
I mean, we have no idea where she sent her in the first place because
because if you were sent to a different portal, you wouldn't come back and be like, "Oh, the person who did that to me is great."
That was like incredibly spooky though. That scene where like she's in her room and she doesn't know what the fuck's going on, and the glass shatters and she's sort of like just standing there and she just vanishes, which I thought was a great scene. But she was able to send her brother underneath a couch. And I think she probably just put her in a void or something, and maybe she forgot. I'm not sure. I thought that was
she didn't really know, but then she found the hair. But obviously she brings her back.
I'm sure Thelma knew where she sent her because she just thinks about it. She might have done it when she was sleeping though, so maybe she didn't subconsciously know what it was about. Are there any other things that you guys want to bring up that you thought impressed or didn't work with the film?
Why didn't she bring $1 million like you said? That would have been a great thing.
Because they were like actually morally, I guess. Although is it
Maybe she does.
is it
post-film.
amoral to
Yeah.
want money? But she helped her mom.
No,
get
it's
her
not
legs.
amoral to want money. You need money to survive.
I'm surprised that, but I guess her parents were on the straight and narrow that they were afraid.
If I had that power, oh my God, so many people would die.
we
It
don't
would
want.
be great.
Yeah, it's the first thing. Well, apparently you don't need to do that for what's happening in reality. But I think her helping her mother's legs walking, and I think that's how steadfast her parents were with like their belief and not pissing off God, I guess, because the mother could have been like, "Hey, can you fix my legs? You know what I mean? Can you
Right.
bring back my son or something?" Which she can't.
Well, she didn't
couldn't.
even know she had the power at
Right.
that point.
And
Yeah.
them
They
suppressing.
could have just told her and stopped being like weird about it.
Yeah, so it does have that sort of hereditary thing going on because I remember seeing a really stupid movie called Rage, Carrie Part 2, which...
Oh, I never saw that. That was starring Jackie from '70s Show, right?
No, she's not in that. But the...
No, she's an American Psycho.
Yeah, some we should even talk
okay.
less about. But the interesting thing about Rage 2 is that they try to explain why this new girl has these powers, and apparently the father of Carrie, who we never, I guess, see in the original Carrie film, is the same father of this younger girl. So they try to do that angle.
So
And
it's in the balls.
Yeah, like Rage 2 sucked. It had a nice sort of slasher ending, and like to me, one of the best haunting visual like final shots in any film I've ever seen. Even though it's a piece of shit, I would say just watch the movie just for that final shot. But I think it was interesting they did a hereditary thing, and it didn't feel cheap that they did that. Like, oh, I'm a mutant. Oh, my grandfather was a mutant. It's just it gives it some sort of reality to it, even though it's like completely fantastical. Any problems with the
Yeah.
film besides that?
I liked it.
No,
I
I
think
don't
it was-
think so. I really
I
enjoyed
thought it was a pretty solid film. What rating would you give Thelma 2017, Thea?
I'm gonna give it 8.5 out of 10. Your dad holding your hand over a fire as a kid, and then you setting him on fire in a.
Oh yeah, you know what? He is. a
Oh,
dickhead.
you know, I didn't
remember
catch
part.
that.
I forgot
That's
about
good,
that part. That's a
Thea.
good one.
Well, I actually forgot about it until I read the synopsis again.
Okay.
Yeah. I also would give it an 8.5 out of 10. Vanishing your almost one night stand and then bringing her back because you knew it was gonna happen. Did she get psychic powers? I mean, as well. Like she was able to see the future because when she gets kissed on the neck.
I mean, if she wants her to.
Because remember she gets kissed in the neck and then it happens like a second after. So maybe she also has these.
Well, I think that was her imagining it and wanting it, and then it happened because she wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
basically,
So
this
she has,
girl
like, more
has the
control
power
over
of
it.
that book, The Sphere. If you go in the sphere, you get to whatever you want happens.
So this is sort of a gay Akira. Instead of blowing up Tokyo, she's getting into nice relationships with pretty girls.
Yeah, it's not the worst way to be a monster.
What's up, man? Danny, what rating would
And
you...
my rating is an 8 out of 10, turning your attention-seeking asshole brother into a brosicle.
Danny was thinking about that name all this week. Brosicle. I'm gonna say brosicle, and he is gonna.
That's all I've been
Oh my God, I
doing.
have the perfect.
By the
It's
way,
gonna blow
everybody,
their
I
minds.
have COVID, so I've just been.
Yes. If you want to hear me yell at him, I'll record an episode after he overcomes it, because I'm gonna yell at him for 40 minutes straight about throwing axes with disgusting people whose my grandfathers they fucking.
I was wearing
Anyway,
a
okay.
mask, and there was only
Alex's
3
voicemail.
people.
I've
Okay.
only got one friend, and they've decided to fuck up. All right, let me get into it. So with that, Thea, what's the final word?
Goo.
Danny, what's the final word? This better not be the final word, Danny. But what's the final word for
A
this
little-
episode?
Long live. Long live.
The HorrorDeconstruction.